In this episode, you'll discover 3 sculling-specific hacks that give you physical feedback you can't get from coaching cues alone. Last episode, we discovered sweep hacks, and today it's sculling. 1 for your head, 1 for your wrists, and 1 for your blade depth. They're all free or nearly free, all usable immediately this week.
Feel the grip of the oar handle, smooth yet firm in your hands. Taste the salt of your own sweat and the occasional splash of water. It's all part of the journey. Welcome to another episode of Faster Masters Rowing Radio. Each week, our host, Masters rowing coach Rebecca Caro, dives deep into the world of Masters rowing. Whether you're on the water or in the gym, join us to become a faster master. Let's go rowing.
Well, hello again, everybody. And we're continuing our little mini series of hacks that you can put into place at very low or no cost that will help you self-coach and improve your rowing and your sculling. Today, we're talking about sculling hacks, and I've got 3 for you. The thing about sculling faults is that they're really subtle. Coaches can often see these from the bank or from a coach boat, but you can't always feel them from inside the boat. So what these are aiming to do is to move your feedback from external to the boat, to your coach, to yourself inside the boat. So you feel it, hear it, you can act on it. So let's get on with the very first hack. And this one is for your head position. Now, if you're one of those rowers who moves your head and tilts it forward, back, side to side during the rowing stroke, this can have quite a significant effect on certainly the boat balance, but also the symmetry within your body. Ideally, you want your spine to be in a straight line vertically with your head above the top of your spine. Now, that sounds a little bit weird, and I know the spine has a natural curve to it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being in the vertical plane as opposed to leaning and twisting horizontally. And secondly, as you go through the rowing stroke, you want your head to stay in line so that when you swing your body backwards or forwards, you want your head to stay in line. Now, if you drop your chin, your head doesn't go forward with your back, and your head's quite heavy. It weighs about 15 pounds, which is 7 kilos. And so it can have quite a significant effect on how the boat runs. I once coached an 8 where there's this girl had a habit of tilting her head to one side, and I got the crew to stop rowing, pause at a high balance, blades off the water, just weigh enough, easy oars there. And then I said to her, now lean your head. And she leant her head and the boat crashed down to that side. So that's the sort of subtlety that we're talking about here. And I think you'll appreciate it. So I want you to keep your head neutral. And the trick to do this is to wear a cap with a stiff brim. Now, when you've got a cap with a brim, the brim is usually here just around your eyebrows. And of course, you can tilt it, but you want it so that you can look out under the brim and see the horizon. And you just see a tiny little bit of brim in your line of sight. Now, the horizon is always level. It's like water. It's always horizontal. And you need to pick a single point. Now, that point could be a tree. It could be a roof. It could be the stern of your boat. Now, your chin will be down a little bit if you're in a single, up a little bit more if it's a double because it's got a longer stern. It could be the back of the head of the person in front of you, but bear in mind that that's going to vary and move during the stroke cycle. Nothing wrong with that, but you do need to be able to reliably check your horizon. Now, where you wear the hat, you want to keep an eye on your point throughout the entire stroke cycle. So that's your horizon point. And if your brim rises or lowers relative to that point, your head moved. And with it, obviously, your balance point. So choose a calm bit of water, a straight bit where you don't need to turn around to steer for at least 5 strokes, ideally 10, and pick a distant fixed reference point before you start. And then keep your eyes forward with that little brim in front of you and then on to your point in the horizon. And it'll give you clues. Now, if you're rowing behind somebody, you can still do this. Let your eyes focus on a particular point. Usually, depending on your height, it might be their neck, their collar, might be just over the top of their head. If you're a person who dips your chin, you might want to keep your chin up by choosing a slightly higher point. But that just gives you the opportunity then to find out whether your head moves when you don't know it's moving. Right. The next one we're going to talk about is wrist tape. I did mention this last week in the sweep one, but the idea is the same. When you are feathering, particularly in the sculling stroke, you want to be sure that you are feathering with your fingers insofar as possible and not using your wrist. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of tape and put it across your lower forearm, across your wrist, and down towards your knuckles. Now, tape can be anything you choose. It can be sellotape, although that's not brilliant. It could be masking tape. It could be electrical tape. And the key is it's going to stick to the little hairs here on your forearm. And if you move your wrist, either way, whether you cock your wrist up or down, it will pull on the hairs and you will know it. So it's just a small feeling reminder to help tell you when your wrist has moved involuntarily, okay? And you can do it with both wrists, of course, and you can use it to guide yourself, through the outing. Do it before you go on the water. As a general rule of thumb, this goes for also when you're taping your hands if you've got blisters. Look, I've got a little blister this week. Tape 20 minutes before you get on the water, because it then gives time for the tape adhesive to fully stick onto your skin, and it just takes a while to bond properly. And so try your rowing just with this tape. You could use athletic tape as well, that physiotherapy tape as well. It's a little bit more expensive, but use it to practice your feathering and squaring action and notice how it affects you and whether or not you can overcome that by keeping the feathering action just in your fingers and thumbs. And now we've got our last hack, and this is for blade depth. If you're a rower whose blade goes too deep, too shallow, or corrugates, it goes up and down during the rowing stroke, have I got a hack for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to put tape on the shaft of the oar, and you put it at a distance from where the oar joins the shaft, such that when the oar's in the water, and just if you sit in the boat, rest the oar in the water. So you want to do this very carefully because you don't want the shaft to get wet, except up to where you're going to put the tape mark. Sit the boat level, drop the oar into the water, and then let go of the handles. So as long as the boat is level, the blade will sit at the correct perfect depth. And most modern blades, so these blades are made of carbon fiber, and they have a foam core mostly, and they will tend to sit about 1 centimeter above the surface of the water. And that 1 centimeter gets covered up when you're actually rowing because you're pushing a mound of water in front, so the water level sort of rises up. But the idea is the boat will sit at the correct level, and you take the height of the water and track it up to where it gets wet up the shaft. And I did it here, and here is where I have put the tape. So you then take the oar out of the water, go back to the bank, and you can measure it, and then put white tape around the shaft. White is good because it's the highest contrast with the dark grey black of the shaft. But once you know that measurement, you could then tape a whole quad set of oars so that you know exactly where the correct depth is. Now, when you're rowing during the drive, turn your head, take a look at your oar, and ideally that white tape should be above the water surface when you're rowing. And what you need to do then is adjust your handle height so that the oar stays at a consistent depth. Now, you can get someone else who's rowing behind you or your coach to watch from the bank or watch from inside the boat and see how you're rowing. And you're looking to confirm where your hands are. That affects the tip of the blade. You'll know within about 10 strokes whether you've got it right or wrong. Now, I know there are people who row deep deliberately. There was a famous New Zealand sculler called Mahi Drysdale who his blades were deep all the time, and that was his choice and how he chose to row. Probably speak to your coach, but most people want an oar that stays at the same depth throughout the stroke cycle. So there you go. You've got 3 sculling hacks that you can work on. Your hat brim for your head position, your wrist tape for your feathering and squaring action, and your shaft tape for blade depth. Pick one, have a go this week, and I hope that it works out well for you. Till next time, bye-bye.
We are part of the RowingChat podcast network. Please tell your fellow rowers about the show. If you've learned just one helpful thing from today's episode, please consider supporting the show for as little as $1 per month by visiting fastermastersrowing.com/podcast.